Hi guys, welcome back to Headwaters Homestead. I'm Christine. Today we're in the kitchen and today we're going to be working with suet. We're going to be rendering some suet and turning it into tallow. What is tallow, might you ask? It is actually a cooking oil. You can render it down from the suet or the white fatty layer that surrounds a cow's organs. That's what the suet is. It's also called leaf fat, and it surrounds the animal's organs, like I said. What you do is you cut that fat into small pieces. Sometimes your butcher will grind it up for you. Today I couldn't get it ground up, but cut that fat into small pieces. You're going to put it into a crock pot and you're going to render it down to get that tallow. Once you've rendered it down to get the tallow, you will separate all the bits and pieces out of that, strain it really good, and then you can put it in a jar and keep it for cooking oil, for frying French fries. It is a wonderful oil for frying. It has a high smoke point for cooking, but you can also use it for skincare. A lot of people are skeptical, and I was too, but I did learn that tallow contains a ton of vitamins, essential minerals, essential oils and antioxidants that are healthy for your skin. It works with your skin's natural lipids and the natural processes, and it won't clog your pores when you use it for a moisturizer. It's also great for eczema and any other kind of dry skin issues you might have. It's going to also heal the skin if you have some eczema issues. So let's get started. We're going to cut up some of this beef fat right now. We're going to get it into the crock pot. Okay, you can see here I've got about 6 pounds worth of suet. Again, the fatty white layer that surrounds the cow's organs. We are pretty big into using all parts of the animal here on our homestead, just so we're kind of doing it right. We're not letting anything go to waste. And this is one of those great things that you can do to not let this fat go to waste. Like I said, it's excellent for cooking and for skincare. So I'm going to actually do this 6 pounds, and this is going to be turned into tallow balm for skincare. Thank you and shout out to all of mine and Todd's co-workers who are reluctantly but bravely trying this as a skincare product. So we're going to cut this all up into small pieces. We're going to get into the crock pot and we're going to let it render down. What you want to do, as you can see here, it's got some dark meaty pieces on it. You want to get all those dark pieces off of there, as much as you can anyway, just to keep those out of there. Because this is pure grass-fed tallow, it's going to contain all of those vitamins and minerals that are healthy for your skin. So we're going to get this cut up and get it into the crock pot and get it rendered down. You're going to see these little fatty pieces here. I don't know exactly what that is, but we are going to make sure all that's cut out of there. The process does take a little bit of time, but it is definitely worth it, especially when you start cooking with this and when you turn it into that tallow balm for your skin. I don't have a before picture, but I actually had some red splotches on my cheeks. And I believe that was just from aging, from natural processes. It almost looked like little spidery veins on my cheeks. And since I've been using the tallow balm on my face on a daily basis, those spots have faded away. I can still see them a little bit, and they're still there, but they've actually faded away from using the tallow balm. Now, if you had a meat grinder, that would also be good to use for this. You can grind it up in nice and small pieces. Like I said, my butcher could not grind it for me today. I picked up about 20 pounds of this suet so I can turn it into cooking oil and skincare products. You're gonna want your crock pot on low heat just to slowly bring it up to temperature and melt this down to get it rendered. All these little pieces are great here to go inside the crock pot. Our granddaughter actually has a little bit of eczema on her neck and around her ears, and our daughter has been using the tallow balm to help her out with that, and it's actually been beneficial, and it is helping her skin to heal. Again, it's safe, it's all natural. When I do make the tallow balm, I use all organic essential oils and make different scents, mixing those all together. It's a little bit of a greasy, slippery job, so have a towel handy. One thing I like to do when I'm cutting up this suet to make it a tallow is make sure my work area is nice and clean before I get started. I make sure my large cutting board is clean, my knife is sharp and clean, and the crock pot is nice and clean as well. You're trying to keep this as pure as possible, especially if you're using it for skincare. You don't want to introduce anything into there that doesn't have to be in there. Again, just keep it nice and clean, and that'll also help you along the way, because it does get a little bit messy as you're cutting this up. It'll crumble a little bit, gets a little bit messy, gets a little bit slippery. Watch your knife on, or watch your hand on your knife handle. That way you don't slip and cut yourself. Okay, so I have all the suet cut down into smaller pieces, and that papery film that you were seeing when I was cutting it earlier, that's a natural occurrence. It just surrounds that fat. I did a little bit of research, and I was cutting it off of there, but then I found out that it'll just melt down into the rendered fat, and whatever is left over is going to be strained out anyway, so it's kind of an unnecessary step to take out that papery film. It was a little off-putting at first, but then once I found out it was okay, then we were good to go. So I got it all cut down. I've got most of it in the crock pot right now, and it's already starting to melt down, so let's take a look at that. So here is the suet that is cut down and just waiting to go into the crock pot. This was some of the trimmings that I was taking off of there, those darker bits and the papery pieces. But like I said, again, that papery film just surrounds the organs, and you can either take it off or put it in there because it's going to be strained out anyway. So we'll come over here to our crock pot. It's just on low. We don't want it to really cook down too fast. We want it to render slowly. So you can kind of see in there already it's starting to melt and render a little bit. We'll let this cook down, and then I will go ahead and throw the rest of these pieces in there. I didn't want to overcrowd it too much right now, so we'll let that cook. We'll get these pieces in there, and we'll start straining after that. Back when Todd and I first started thinking about living the homesteading lifestyle and trying to raise more of our food here on the farm, we kind of discussed if we're going to raise animals and eat the meat from those animals, we're going to do it responsibly. So that means using all of the parts of the animal, everything that we can. In April, next month, we've got 25 meat birds coming, and then in May we have another 25 meat birds and 15 turkeys coming. We're going to raise those here on the farm. We've got the equipment here to process them. It'll be our first time ever processing, and I'm terrified. I'm so scared, but I know that once we jump in and do it, it's going to be pretty awesome, knowing that the birds were raised responsibly and ethically. They were treated well. They were given a great life, and they'll have that one bad day, and in turn they're going to nourish us and provide food for our family. So in doing that, we're going to use all parts of the chicken as well. Anything that we can use in the broth, we will, such as like the necks and the innards, the hearts, the lungs, whatever we can use in the broth, we will. We'll use the chicken feet in making broth as well. The feathers, excuse me, will be turned into our compost pile, and any of the other offal or anything else that we can't use anywhere else is going to go into compost as well. That also includes the blood from the chicken will go into compost and go right into the garden and not go to waste. It'll go back into the whole process of growing our food. Right now, I mentioned in another video that we're not set up to have any cows or bigger animals right now. So we have actually purchased, for the last 2 years, we purchased a half a cow from our neighbor who lives right across the lane. So we get to watch those cows being raised. We know what they're being fed. We know that they're being treated well. And that makes us happy, knowing that we have that resource right there available that we can get our beef from. So we'll have beef from the neighbors, and we'll have our chickens from here on our farm. We've talked with them about kind of bartering and trading some meat here and there. Also with the eggs that we're producing and our garden this year, we're doubling our garden size. So we're gonna have a ton of produce coming out of there. Everything in the basement right now is doing really well and starting to sprout up. And every time I go downstairs, it just makes my heart happy because I see green everywhere. So yeah, I just wanted to share that a little bit too, because we're trying to do things a little bit better just for us, for our family, for the environment, for our farm, and for our community. We want to do the best we can with what we have here. All right, guys, I was telling you a little bit about the cows that get raised right across the lane here. So right here is where we can see the cows behind that little red barn. Oh, the screen's gonna mess it up. But right behind that little red barn is the pasture, and that's where the cows are raised. There's the the bigger brown barn and the 2 neighbors' houses that have been so amazing since we moved in here. So we get to share the lane with them, and in turn we get to share what we're growing and kind of barter back and forth and help support each other. So what I'm gonna do while this is rendering down is just keep on stirring it and making sure everything is getting turned in there and rendering properly. I'll throw some more of the suet in there as it continues to render. And then I've got some mason jars that are already prepared. They've already been sterilized. And I will pour the melted tallow. Once it's strained, I'll pour that into the jars. And I keep a jar of that up in the cupboard right above the stove for cooking. Like I said, it's excellent. I made some Brussels sprouts with the tallow, kind of fried the Brussels sprouts a little bit in the pan with some bacon and some onions, and they were fabulous made in that tallow. You can cook all sorts of things with the tallow, and we're also using it for our face products as well that we're producing here on the farm. I did tallow a few months ago, and I did make some tallow balm. Like I said, my work friends and Todd's work friends have volunteered graciously to help us out with that. So they're sampling that out, and they're going to give us their feedback, and we trust that they'll give us the honest feedback that we're looking for. So with this round, I bought 20 pounds of suet. I'm rendering 6 pounds right now, and this 6 pounds will probably just go into mason jars for cooking and into the cupboard for future use. And then the rest of the suet I will render down little by little and turn that into more tallow balm. Welcome back, guys. It's the next day. Ran a little short on time last night, and I had to get the tallow strained and let it cool down before we got to bed. So like I said, ran a little short on time, but last night what we did was strain the tallow through just a regular strainer, and then again through cheesecloth. That way it's nice and strained. There's no bits left in there. It's nice and clear now. We did that last night, and then we let it sit and let it harden overnight. Now the bits and pieces that we strained out, that's gonna make a great treat for the chickens. They're gonna love that. So we're gonna dump that out for the chickens. We're gonna whip up the hardened tallow, and this is just gonna be just plain tallow for right now. I think the next batch that I do, we'll start experimenting with some more scents and some more of those organic essential oils. So this is where we're at. I'll pop in some pictures here of the process last night. I did snap a few pictures of the straining and going through the cheesecloth and what it looked like once that was done. The rendered tallow is going to be yellow in color, and then once it dries and hardens, it's going to become white and creamy. So that's what we have right now, so let's check that out. Okay, so here is the hardened tallow. You can see it's nice and hardened in the bowl there. This is what's going to go to the chickens. This is the bits and pieces that came out of that tallow. Once it was rendered down, you'll see in the pictures, this actually became really clear and translucent. Once that happens, that's when you know that your tallow is ready. Again, we strain this twice. That's going to chickens, and this is what we're going to whip up just to make our tallow for cooking. Hello, chickens. Hello. Look at all your little feet prints out there. Make sure you save some for your friends. It's not for you, Bo. Oh, it's cold. Okay, so we've got our hand mixer ready. We've got our hardened tallow here, and let's go ahead and see what happens. By whipping the tallow, we're actually infusing some air into that, so it should make it nice and light. You can also whip it as it hardens, instead of letting it harden all the way like this. Again, we ran out of time last night, so this got nice and hardened overnight, and we're just going to whip it up now. Kind of looks like cake icing. The kids asked me last night if they could eat it, and I said, well, I probably wouldn't eat it straight up like that. It's definitely not sweet like icing is. All right, that's looking pretty good. It looks like mashed potatoes too, but again, you don't want to eat that straight up. Okay, there we have it. There is our whipped tallow bomb. What I'm gonna do from here is just put this in a mason jar and keep it up in the cupboard for use for cooking. Again, the next batch I'm going to start to experiment with some of those organic essential oils and see what kind of good scents we can come up with. The first time we made lemongrass, orange, citrus, and lavender, and they were all pretty good. My personal favorite was the lemongrass. It had a really good scent to it. Second time around, I don't know, we'll play with a little bit of different ideas and scents. If you have any ideas or thoughts on that, drop it in the comments below. Let me know what you think. It's not icing. It's not mashed potatoes. It's whipped tallow. Okay, so I got the whipped tallow into my mason jar, and as I was putting it in here, I got to thinking, how did I get it in the mason jar so easily last time? So I remembered I didn't let the tallow harden before I poured it into the jar, and it was not whipped the last time when I was using it for cooking purposes. I poured it in as a liquid, I let it solidify, and then just used that as a cooking oil as we needed it and scooped it out of the jar. So because we are always learning as we grow here, you're going to see our mistakes. You're going to see our failures sometimes too, because we want you to learn from that as well. Like I said, we're constantly learning with everything we do. So yeah, it wasn't really a failure. It was kind of a mistake though, but I did get the whipped tallow into the jar, and this is shelf stable. It's going to go up in the cupboard, and we're going to use this for our cooking purposes. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learning a little bit about tallow and tallow balm and the things that it can be used for. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Give us a like, follow the channel for more content like this. We'll be showing you a lot coming up with the garden season, with our meat birds coming, with our turkeys coming. There's a lot more to come, so stay tuned. Thank you for being here. Is that you, Teddy Roo?